Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Denver, Colorado. I am here with Elephant Learning. Since 2017, this automated math academy has taught the world's most effective way to learn mathematics. I am joined today by the Chancellor, CEO, co-founder. Thanks so much for joining us here, Doctor. Let's start off a little bit about yourself. We're talking about easily over a decade. You're basically a software engineer. You understand the importance of mathematics. It became your passion, really your mission to teach the world how to teach others math. Share with me how this journey got started for you.
Sure. So we started in about July of 2016, and one of my professors had a National Science Foundation grant that he was applying for. And what it was we were going to take research from the National Science Foundation and try to start a business around it. And there's money for that the government gives out. We never got that, but basically what he was telling me was that 4 out of 5 students start kindergarten unprepared for the kindergarten curriculum. And that was very surprising to me, and so I had to dig further. I asked him, how is that possible? And what he said was that kindergarten, as a prerequisite, has counting to 10. And what kindergarten means by counting to 10 is give me 10 things, and the child is able to slide over 10 things and stop on 10. But what the common parent thinks, and what I thought at the time, was counting to 10 was just saying the numbers 1 through 10. And so immediately I could see the gap that he was speaking about. And the good news was that they already had activities, the researchers and educators already had activities that were proven to teach the mathematics to the child. And when we found out what it was that we're really just taking the written mathematics, the language of the mathematics, and trying to connect it to physically what's happening underneath.
That's interesting. I mean, regardless of the school program out there, be it private school, charter school, public, the actual topic of mathematics will always be taught. Why do you think that is the cornerstone of a lot of our teaching out there, and why mathematics is so important?
Well, it's important because everyone deals with mathematics on a daily basis. I mean, you turn on CNBC and all you see are decimal points and percentages, right? So if you don't get beyond that in school, you're not going to understand even what they're talking about.
What may come easy to some students doesn't come easy to others. I mean, I've seen math bring a kid to tears before. I mean, let me ask you, do you think by just the way we're teaching, we can make it less challenging for the student?
Well, it's challenging to do it in the classroom because the classroom is 30 on 1, and what we're really talking about is understanding of the language. So when we're speaking with the student, it's easy to see 1-on-1 whether the student understands or not. But 30 on 1, that's very challenging, and that's kind of why we developed this system, because not only does it give the parent an idea of what the child understands, it gives the teacher an idea of what the children understand, and allows them to break it into groups so that they can talk to everyone who can understand the lecture that they're giving.
The way that you're going about doing this is it's accelerated. This is like math on steroids. We're talking about a claim like 1 year, if not more, in 3 months. Is this something that you've experienced quite often?
Yeah, we guarantee it, in fact. On average, children in our system learn 1.5 years of mathematics, and they do that in about 10 weeks. And what we measured was it was about 22.5 minutes per week, but that doesn't really work well for like a soundbite, so we just rounded it up to 30.
That's a great claim right there. That's fantastic. I mean, before we discuss really what's being taught, let's discuss how it's taught. We're talking about the platform. Internet-based? Is this classroom? One-on-one? Are you utilizing video? Share with me a little bit how that's done.
Okay, so for the student, it's a gamification. Right up until algebra. So before algebra, we've gamified everything, and what we're doing is we're basically being able to manipulate, quantities of things to see how does it work. We've had over 100,000 students come through our system, and we've taught nearly 150,000 years of mathematics. So we kind of build them up from counting to multiplicative thinking And then also we start to introduce to them fractions, where we kind of change the nomenclature of how we're using the numbers, right? So when you say 1/4, initially, like especially if the child was kind of struggling with what they were working on prior to coming in, this is going to be really confusing because we've never written that before. But once they start to see visually, like this represents 1 out of 4 pieces of an area, or 1 out of 4 pieces of a line, or in quantity 1 out of 4 pieces, they start to get that physical understanding underneath, and then that way when we get to the written mathematics in algebra, they can completely understand what we're writing about.
So we're talking about a platform that they can learn one-on-one online right there. The platform's easy, it's accessible, but what you're actually teaching is quite unique, because we're talking about a system that basically addresses the topics, like you said before, as a language.
As a language.
Touch on that more. What does that mean for somebody out there as a language?
Sure. So what the experts call this conceptual mathematics, but the way I like to think about it is as the idea of the mathematics. So like the idea of quantity, for example, like communicating this to a young child is really, really challenging, first of all, because it's kind of like the colors. They have to see it. And then you got to show it to them over and over and over again until they can understand that what you're speaking about is the quantity. But it doesn't stop there, right? Because when you get to addition, what happens is it's like, give me 5 things, give me 4 more things. And that's the idea of 5 plus 4. So if the student can start to connect what's being written on the chalkboard to what's actually happening underneath concretely, then they have some shot of understanding what's happening. But without that, it's just memorization. They're memorizing, but they don't understand what's happening. And the worst part is that what we tend to do, because like we now think about it like a basketball hoop. You have to solve the problem to exhibit the idea in your mind, and then we can label it. But if you don't solve the problem and someone shows you how to do it, well, then the problem is you did not exhibit the idea in the mind, and then we just keep showing you, well, 5 plus 4 equals 9. Memorize it. You'll get it. We feel like we can force the ball into the hoop. That's what it is. So like we try to back it off so that the child can get the language, and we know that the repetition, that's going to happen in the classroom anyway. So
sure. I mean, like you say, repetition is going to happen. Memorization is really not what this is about. This is about understanding what exactly they're doing, figuring it out. Do you think because they're learning in that way, they're able to better communicate with their teacher, with their parent, as to what the strategies are behind all that?
Absolutely, that's what it is. So like, what we tell parents is that we help your child understand the teacher at the level of the grade in the classroom. And because of that, the child actually finds math class entertaining again. So the solution to the math anxiety is to clear up the clout around the misunderstanding of what we're talking about. Once the child can understand the teacher, they're no longer anxious by math. It's actually enjoyable. It's a puzzle. It's Sudoku.
I mean, it's basically like as they begin to actually understand, they're learning the fundamentals like the tables, and as they understand, the confidence levels come up, and therefore you start enjoying it. I mean, is that exciting for some of the stories you've heard from the parents saying they went from pulling their hair out to, I kind of like this. It's almost like solving a puzzle. It's going into one of those rooms, you know, where you're trying to solve something.
And a common thing that parents say is that they see their child using the math at the dinner table or during play. So once the child starts to see the ideas playing out in the world, well, that's what you want, because now they can start to use the math to solve real life problems. They can get involved with science, they can get involved with technology. This is really what the breakthrough is we're sparking their curiosity rather than turning them off from it.
Like you said, what you learned early on was kindergarten. So what are the ages that you're able to help now? And I mean, do you believe we should start them earlier the better? Share with me.
Sure. So it depends on the child.
Okay.
They have to have enough language to interact with the system. But once they have enough language to interact with the system, we've seen 4-year-olds get as far as multiplication, division. We've even had 4-year-olds go into fractions, decimals, and percentages, and they've left reviews on our Facebook page and etc. But we cover through algebra. We're adding more now. We're adding coding. We're adding personal finance. We're going to add probability theory so that we could do a good coverage of statistics. But the real idea is if you have that basic language and then you go through what our algebra curriculum is, we really hammer home that this is just about communicating, right? Because the real challenge is once you've got a student that's kind of in those subjects, well, they're still worried about whether they're doing it right or whether they're doing it wrong and whether they followed the process that the teacher said. But if you can turn it into a language, it's no longer about right or wrong. It's about true or false. And if the student can identify true statements and false statements, they're already ahead of the game.
I like that. It's like Thomas Edison said, there's 1,000 ways I just figured out it didn't work this way. That is interesting because it almost seems like a natural progression to learn that way. Share with me, whether they're very young or older kids, you have an exam basically that's going to place them exactly where they need to be. Tell me how that works.
Okay, so the placement exam starts behind the student. So it's intended to start behind the student and catch up to them. That way, if you have a student that might have some math anxiety, they're building confidence coming into the system.
That feels good.
But basically, it's asking what would be the most challenging questions in each subject. And when they answer it correctly, what they've done is they've shown proficiency in understanding that idea. And so what we're able to quickly do is find which subjects they don't understand the ideas for, building up. And so where we place them ends up being where they are, unless they're kind of further behind, in which case they might exit the placement exam immediately. And our algorithms detect this and try to send an email out to the parent. But for the most part, 80% of the students come in and the exam that they get is set perfectly for them.
That is exciting. So regardless where they come in, you're going to customize the approach to them. And basically, it's going to continually feed them challenges to get them to the next level, even hint at what the next level is, and they keep going. This type of thing, when you see it happening, is each child different? I mean, do you see some really fast forward through it, and are parents pretty surprised that it works so quickly?
Well, yeah, I mean, it does work really quickly for some children. Like they come in, they get it, they start playing with it, and they keep building. Some children come in and they may experience a couple of speed bumps, but we have methods for the parent to step in and help, which is what we call the Y method. So if a student's kind of hit one of these speed bumps, what we recommend to the parent is they let the student answer, let them answer incorrectly, don't try to show them how to do it, but then ask them, why do you think this is the right answer? And when the student tells you why, you're going to be able to understand what they don't understand and either give them a hint or give them an explanation of what the language means. And this gets them over that speed bump, that gets them on to the next thing, really.
Speaking of the parents being able to step in, as you will, what I really is interesting is the fact that they're not only accelerating really fast, but the parents are kept in the loop. I mean, you're basically, like you said, emails, reports. Is this something that is pretty transparent throughout the program, and so the parents can monitor?
Right. So, like I told you, my child was on the way. So like when I realized how important it is that my child understand these ideas, what we did was we took the most effective ways to teach the student these ideas. It would be teacher training. This is university training that they were giving to teachers. And we just took that information for each subject and we placed it into the system. A year later, we've added video. So now those same descriptions are video. And the idea basically is that I could look at that report at any given point in time, understand exactly what my student is working on, exactly how the experts say it should be taught right now, so that I got my head around that. And then we also let you try as the parent, which is really the silver bullet, because once you've solved the problem, you're like, oh, okay, I understand now exactly what they're trying to get across and how they're trying to do it. So now you go and do that Y method with your child, and it works like magic.
I mean, this truly is the best supplement curriculum for math that I've ever seen or researched. Basically, we're talking from counting to algebra, but like you said, you're adding all the time because you're going beyond that. Has the program changed a lot since your first inception?
Yeah, so we started with preschool, kindergarten, first grade, second grade. We added on third, fourth within the first year. And then we put in fractions, decimal percentages. We put in logic games because the psychologist said that it's not developmentally appropriate to teach an 8-year-old what and or means. We seem to disagree as mathematicians, so we taught it to children. That's the logical foundation for what would be, your coding courses. So, I mean, we just keep adding on, and we keep adding on in a way that we feel is going to be most empowering to children. Like, how can we get them the information that's going to allow them to make an impact in the world?
That's got to be exciting for parents out there, because regardless if you have a child who's maybe behind where they should be, it's a great program. If you've got a child who's even ahead, this is a way for really to give them the edge, if you will. For you, regardless of where they come along, they're spiraling to the next level. I mean, is that something that you've been able to experience? And when you read the reviews out there, is that pretty exciting to see that this is all coming to play?
Yeah, I mean, it's always satisfying to see someone who's had the results, that's grateful for the results, and that's now has a child that, is enjoying math, to be honest with you. Because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the opposite of that is close to torture. I mean, what I tell people is, if you or I walked into a third-year biochem course, we wouldn't understand the jargon of the professor because we missed 3 years worth of jargon. But a student that doesn't understand third grade can't walk out of third grade.
No, and like you said, it's rather sad because of the fact that back in my day it was memorization. I did my best to get on the test and get out of the class, but really you look back and realize you didn't learn what you needed to learn. Basically, I can't imagine there's a parent out there who doesn't want to help their child if they need some help. A parent out there who doesn't want to give them the edge. Does this continue to be rewarding for you as you see this progress? And are you excited to, like you say, put your child into the same program?
Yeah, my child's in there. He's been in there maybe about a year now. He's working on what would be first grade math, but it's really up to the child because they have to be paying attention. They have to use it, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. So we got his teacher kind of working with him in the system.
And lastly, this is not only an effective program, obviously accelerated, but it's really cost effective. I mean, you're talking about a tutor out there and what the hourly rate is. I mean, basically for them to come in a program like this, I personally as a parent don't see it as a cost. I see it as an investment in my child because they're obviously going to receive back. Do you try to make it affordable so that people can access the program?
Yeah, this was the thing that when I was approached by the professor, it was really the thing is that the furthest children that are furthest behind are the lower income students. So it all happens by income level. So the graph he showed me basically showed that the lowest 20% income earners are the furthest behind, and the only students entering prepared are the top 20% income earners because they can afford to send their child to preschool or to Montessori or it's something like that. And so what we did was we put together a scholarship program. So it's $55 for all your students, right. But if that's out of reach for you, then you just apply for a scholarship and we'll find a way to get you into the system. There's even a nonprofit that we've partnered with that can get it to you for free.
That is exciting. I'm glad we're able to bring this out to the folks out there. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is their website. First of all, on the website, learn more about this program. They've got a great Q&A right there. If you've got questions, we're talking about this is really the top of early development education. We're able to take basically algorithms, science, gamification, and basically produce some results out there that you're going to notice, you're going to see, because we're talking about 3 months is a very short period of time when you can get in a full year or even a year and a half of math. And they've got a guarantee to back that up, which is really amazing. So basically check out the website there. They've got an easy way to contact them as well. And once again, that is Elephant Learning, located right here in Denver, Colorado. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.